Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
Wait, you only got one? Did I only get one banter there?
Yep.
No, there were two banters.
Were there two?
I said
well,
two
you gotta
banters.
give me I only
heard one.
Through. Yeah.
What?
So repeat. Go ahead. Give me one once more with feeling.
Banter.
There you go. That's better. That's
All right,
better. See,
fine.
that's why we edit the show. Right there. Hey, this is, of course, the podcast where we talk with advocates and members of the disability community to educate and inspire better conversation about disability. Hey, my name is Rob Minot, and joining me today, Mr. Ryan Fleury.
You sound way too chipper for this time of day.
It's all a clever ruse, my friend. It's all that. And hey, look who else is in the room. Mr. Steve Barkley.
I've had espresso. Espresso is excellent. I really like espresso, especially first thing in the morning. Espresso is fabulous.
And we
Yeah.
got Sammy Squirrel joining us.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an espresso type of morning. Of course, it's we're coming off of a 4-day long weekend, which really spoils you. I was talking to Ryan about this earlier. But it also doesn't feel long enough. It feels like your body just starts to get into like, hey, are we on vacation? And then it's like, no, sorry.
I'll take 4 days. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, you're welcome. You know, I only give you guys 4 days because I really want the 4 days. After government year end, March 31st, you know, that March is mayhem. So that vacation at the beginning of April is gold.
Yeah, I'll bet. Did anybody do anything fun over the long weekend?
I gardened
Wow, look at you.
and I played Fallout 4.
Okay. Yeah. Good.
Nothing
Yeah,
here. Just
No.
played some music.
Nothing wrong with that. I just did a smattering a little bit. You know, I had a dinner one of the days, and then just tried to relax and did a little bit of work as well. Went for some walks. The weather finally started to kind of get nice here in Vancouver.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, wasn't it? It really felt like spring finally. So I got out a bit, got out for some walks, and just tried to I really did try to actively opt out of the news cycle and screens as much as I could. It's hard, but I tried because I feel like these days, man, it's just more important than ever to just have some downtime away from everything that's going on, you know?
Yeah, it's a great time to opt out of the news cycle right now.
But it's so funny.
I don't know, man.
funny. Holy smokes!
I don't know, man.
Trump's threatening genocide. Holy
Yeah,
moly.
Anyways, yeah.
That's you. Yeah,
That's a whole
That's
nother
where I want-
podcast.
that's where I feel like I need to be adopted into the news cycles. Like, do I need to stock up on canned food and bottled water? This is the big question.
Yeah, well, I'm preparing myself by playing Fallout 4.
Perfect. It's research, honey. It's research.
That's right, exactly.
All right. Well, anything else to add to the convo before we get started? I'm excited to get to today's show.
Yeah, I think we all need to ask ourselves the question: why are we up doing a podcast at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday, especially a Tuesday after a long
this
weekend?
show.
Yes.
This is all you.
We blame
Oh,
you.
sure, put it on me.
All
Yeah.
right.
No, it's great.
We
I
don't
think it's
mind.
great. It's a great time, and that way you listen. We've done all the hardest work before the day's even started. So look at it that way.
Have you seen my calendar for today?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen my inbox?
All right. Well, we better get to it then. So get you guys to
After a
work.
4-day weekend?
Well, that's where that 4-day weekend is a mixed blessing, I tell you.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. Well, Mr. Ryan,
Yes, Mr. Rob.
what the heck are we doing today?
Well, today this conversation is long overdue. We've had them on in the past, but we are welcoming to the show Simon Kitchen from Dolphin to share all the information on what's new over at yourdolphin.com. So Simon, welcome to the show.
Hi Ryan, hi Rob, hi Steve. Thank you very much for having me today.
Thanks for being here and putting up with our nonsense.
And pushing into your evening at the same time. What time is it
Indeed.
there in
Oh,
Jolly Old?
it's you've been very kind. So you guys have got an early start. It's about 4 p.m. here, so you've been very kind to me.
Oh,
Excellent.
It's not too bad. I'm just finishing up, hard day's work. You guys are just getting started.
right.
You heading to the pub after this?
We're chugging coffees. You're chugging beer. It's great.
Don't tell my boss.
Well, okay. Well, why don't we get started by maybe you can just for anybody in the audience who isn't familiar with Dolphin, who isn't familiar with the products that you guys make, maybe you could just give us a little bit of a brief overview.
Yeah, absolutely. So at Dolphin, we're a world-leading assistive technology company, and as you can probably tell from my accent, we're based in the UK. But we work with lots of partners, such as Canadian Assistive Technology, and lots of different partners around the world to make our assistive technology available. And the products that we make at Dolphin are all about enabling people with sight loss to read, to study, to learn, to work, and to live independently in a way that is accessible for them. So we're not a new company. We've been established for a long time, as a central part of the assisted technology community. So we're actually this year celebrating 40 years of Dolphin, and that's 40 years of accessibility, of innovation, and empowering people with sight loss around the world. So yes, quite an exciting time.
Well, it's such an interesting perspective too, because in tech years,
Yeah.
that's like being around since the Cretaceous period.
Absolutely. I mean, when Dolphin were first formed, so I've actually been at Dolphin. Sorry, you did ask me to introduce myself as well. I
Oh
forgot
no,
to do
go
that
ahead.
bit. So yeah, so my role, I'm Chief Commercial Officer at Dolphin. So I work with lots of the different teams here, the product teams, the sales team, and the marketing team. As well. But I've been with Dolphin now for about 18 years, so a fair amount of time. But Dolphin had a long and rich history from way before that I joined the company. So I mean, initially, today we're providing magnification and screen reading products, but we're talking about the days before Windows and the kind of original products that Dolphin were creating. You didn't have things like screen readers. We were sort of building synthesizers, which looked a bit like speakers, and rather than being installed on the computer like today's magnification and screen reading products are, these would be synthesizers, like they look like speakers and they'd be connected to the computer. So we're going way back to those sorts of days, and since then there's been a number of innovations throughout the assisted technology industry, whether that's things like the first screen readers. So before the days of Windows, we were developing screen readers such as HAL for DOS. Way back before even Windows was a sort of thing. And then moving on, we've been developing products such as Smart HAL and Pocket HAL when Windows Mobile became a thing, and making those devices accessible for people with sight loss, mobile devices accessible for people with sight loss. But yeah, you reflect on some of those innovations, and then bringing out products like Supernova on a USB pen. We called it the Dolphin Pen, and this was the first option to make screen magnification, screen reading available on different devices. So on a USB pen, you could plug into different computers, and you reflect on some of those innovations, and then where we are today with some of our products like Supernova and Easy Reader and Guide Connect as well. The industry's moved on a lot and is helping people in so many wonderful ways.
Well, and it is such an interesting perspective, I would imagine, as a strategy when you're developing products. How important is sort of whatever the tech trend of the time is?
I think it's incredibly important, and actually, hopefully, we'll get on to talking about some of the sort of newer things which are happening. But in terms of the technology landscape, but even making sure. I mean, fundamentally, Dolphin exists to enable people with vision impairments to be able to interact with everything that their Windows environment could potentially provide for them. So where we're seeing lots and lots of changes to, rolling updates for Windows, rolling updates to Office 365. People are needing their assistive technology to be keeping up to date with those applications, to be able to, continue in education, to, do their jobs in the workplace, etc. So it's really important that the technology evolves on a fundamental level, but then also looking at some of the newer aspects as well. And actually, where you've got, things like AI, which have wonderful potential, but then, should we be looking at AI, in sort of general terms, or are there things that we can do specifically within the assistive technology to help make more content accessible or to remove more barriers for people as well? So absolutely, I think it's fundamental to be, on top of the trends, so to speak.
Right. And absolutely we can't have this conversation without talking about AI. As much as, I can hear all the eye rolling going on in the audience because, we talk about AI all the time, but you kind of have to when you're talking about tech because it's so ubiquitous and it is so important and there is so much potential in what AI can do, especially in the assistive technology and the accessibility field. So can you talk a little bit about what that's been like for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So at Dolphin, we provide Supernova, which is world lead in magnification and screen reading, and this is empowering people in supporting thousands of people around the world, whether they're blind or partially sighted, to be able to do the things that they want to be able to do, whether they're in education, accessing the curriculum, and being able to succeed in education, and then going on into the workplace. We know actually that there are unfortunately more people with vision impairments who are sort of out of the labour force, but that's where introducing the assistive technology early really helps to kind of help people to realise their potential and to go and go and have successful careers. So we're helping people in employment to kind of have those successful careers, supporting all the applications they need so they can use their Windows device in a way they find accessible. And equally, people at home, we know that there's lots of correlation between age-related sight conditions, and sight loss. So enabling people to be, in the home, being able to use their computer to be able to accessing more content, as hopefully we'll come on to it, whether that's print-based or other as well. So with Supernova, as I mentioned, we're talking about magnification and screen reading. So we know that everybody's sort of experience with sight loss is different and can change over time as well. And this is why Supernova comes in a number of different editions. So you can have Supernova Magnifier as the first edition, which includes all of the magnification sort of elements of Supernova. And connects to things like cameras, which we can kind of touch on shortly. And that's more for people with low vision. And we also then have Supernova Magnifier in Speech, which is for people with low vision who perhaps need a little bit of support with speech for reading back documents and web pages and those sorts of things. It's also very useful if maybe eyes are getting tired throughout the day, and so can turn on the speech to read back a document, etc. We also have Supernova Magnifier and Screen Reader. So we often get that question about what's the difference between speech and a screen reader. Well, the screen reader will whereas the speech will read read what's on the screen. It will announce what's on the screen, so it will speak it. The screen reader will describe it as well. So it will tell you, for example, if a checkbox is checked or not checked, or those sorts of things. And the magnifier and screen reader edition Supernova is particularly useful for people maybe with progressive sight loss that's getting worse over time and are becoming more reliant on the screen reading aspects than perhaps the magnification aspects. But we also have Dolphin Screen Reader, which is more for people with severe sight loss, where actually interacting with a computer using any remaining sight isn't as productive. And so focusing very much on the screen reading features rather than the magnification. So because Supernova comes in those different editions, it's ideal, first of all, for individuals if perhaps sight is changing over time or progressively deteriorating over time. It means that you don't have to learn a new product. You can stay with your product and choose a different edition. So that's really important. But also for people, for businesses or for public, multi-use settings where perhaps we're supporting people with a variety of different levels of vision. Supernova, because it encompasses, all of the different aspects of magnification and the screen reader in one product. It's really suitable to kind of, have one product to support every sort of level of vision. So hopefully that gave a good kind of overview. But now I'll get back to your actual question. Sorry, Rob. Yeah, super. It was more around how is the advent of AI kind of impacting? And obviously AI can do lots of weird and wonderful things. And we're seeing lots of sort of memes on social media where people end up with, additional fingers or, and it's clearly AI generated and people are using it for lots of different ways. But at Dolphin, we're very much on the level of how can we use this wonderful technology in a way to help to remove barriers for people with vision impairments. So Supernova now includes a couple of options which are very much focused on AI. So first of all, we're talking about how can we help people to get their questions answered about Supernova? How can I learn the product? Or, every product comes with a help manual, which is pages and pages and pages of reading, which you have to navigate. At Dolphin, we've actually got a range, lots of wonderful resources, as well as the in-product help. We have application-specific help pages to help you use Microsoft Word with Supernova or Excel with Supernova. We've got a knowledge base which is available for any technical problems. So I've got this error code. What does that mean? How do I fix it? We've also got a learning zone full of training courses for professionals, whether they're assistive technology trainers or educators or assessors, and courses for individuals who are using the software as well. So lots and lots of fantastic resources. But we know if you just want a quick question, quick answer to a question, I need to know how to change a mouse pointer, or I need to know how to choose a custom color scheme because I have color vision deficiency. You might not want to have to trawl through all of these different resources. So you can actually use our new Ask AI facility in the product, which does all that heavy lifting for you. So once you go into the Supernova help, you can ask a question, and then the Ask AI facility will trawl through all of those fantastic resources and come back with step-by-step instructions based on your query, which is a great use of AI. In terms of making it easier to get those questions, and to be honest, I actually use it quite a lot myself if I've forgotten a shortcut key, for example. And we know there's lots of shortcut keys in the product, so it's quite useful just for that, but also for any other use cases to kind of help people to really get the most out of the product. So that's our first kind of use of AI, and that's available across all the editions of Supernova. As well, whether you're talking about magnifier all the way through to magnifier and screen reader and Dolphin screen reader as well. But secondly, the second kind of issue or challenge we looked to overcome was with regards to images, because we know there's lots of images that are, troublesome for people who are vision impaired, particularly if, whether they're in print, family photos or any print-based resources that we have, in education, maybe printouts of worksheets and charts and diagrams, family photos and those sorts of things, but also images online. For example, we know that not all of the websites are WCAG compliant and with accessible alt tag descriptions of images, or sometimes they're not very good image descriptions, etc. And sometimes inaccessible files like PDFs which aren't tagged for accessibility, etc. So we can take lots of these resources and then we can use our Ask AI facility to ask questions about those images and actually get really rich descriptions. So whether you're in education and you have charts and diagrams, being able to have really rich descriptions without having a paraprofessional sat alongside you sort of describing that image, you can do that independently. You can get all of that rich information and ask follow-up questions about it as well to get, to be able to learn more independently. Exactly the same in the workplace, or whether you're one of the use cases actually, which we found quite popular, is greetings cards, because particularly around seasonal periods, perhaps over you were mentioning the bank holiday earlier, and sometimes you get cards around this period. And being able to read them, including any handwriting, and using the Ask AI facilities to read back that content, so you've got access to it independently, really is a wonderful thing. So for greetings cards, or for product packaging, or for, as we said before, if you have inaccessible images online as well, and just being able to get those rich image descriptions and then ask those follow-up questions as well is really important. So yeah, it's those are two of the ways which we're kind of using this wonderful technology to help remove more barriers. And again, both of those facilities are available across all of the editions of Supernova, because we know that once you start zooming into an image, it's very difficult to get the kind of the bigger picture for it. So it's really useful to have that for people with low vision, as well as people who are more with more severe sight loss as well.
Yeah, and I want to sort of go back and talk a little bit about all the additions, because I think that a lot of people maybe might not realize the challenge that it is to be able to serve people with a variety of different needs who may, they may be in a work environment, they may be in a home environment, they may have been blind since birth, or they may be 70 years old and their vision is just starting to decline. And to be able to provide solutions for that entire user base, I mean, that must be a real challenge.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's exactly why there are different editions of Supernova. To make your Windows environment accessible, for whatever your needs are. But that taking it back a level, actually, it's really important to at Dolphin, we really understand that that where the assistive technology fits, the purpose that the assistive technology serves, because ultimately we know that people don't want to be using just using Supernova. They want to be creating documents, finding information online, using those applications. So it's really important, that that's the focus. The assistive technology really is the means in order to get there. But in order to get there, the Windows environment needs to be made accessible for people with very different needs. So, for example, if we're talking about people with low vision, Supernova's offering really clear magnification. We have advanced text smoothing, something we call True Fonts, which works in Office applications and also on the Windows desktop. And that means that the text is incredibly smooth, even when you zoom into higher levels. Supernova is also unique in working with touchscreens as well. But the magnification, touchscreen magnification, means that it's a lot more flexible to move around the screen and to explore the screen. So you can explore using the mouse, or you can explore using the keyboard. Just to note on keyboards as well, there's lots of shortcut keys in Supernova, but again, it's entirely flexible because you've got laptop or desktop shortcut keys, but you've also got layered hotkeys, which is more useful for people maybe who struggle to to press more complex key commands, or struggle to remember lots of different key commands. You can use layers of hotkeys as well. But you've also got hotkeys for other products as well. So you can use your JAWS hotkeys to control Supernova, or your Zoom text hotkeys to control Supernova. So if you are looking at alternatives, you've got options there which kind of help you to try Supernova, but still use all those shortcuts that you've learned with another product. But as I mentioned, is around flexibility. So yes, you can use the mouse, the keyboard, but you can also explore the screen using the touch screen. And we find for people with low vision, this is extremely useful, because you're exploring the screen based on where your finger is. So you're in a lot more control. And when you zoom in, you're zooming into where your fingers are zooming in. So it really helps to kind of, helps you to kind of explore the screen in quite an intuitive way. You've also got the accessible color schemes, which are available for people maybe with color vision deficiency. You've got a lot of presets, about 26, I think it is, preset color schemes, including color schemes for people with color blindness. as well. And we've got color replacement options. So if you do have particular colors you can't see, you can replace them with other colors and basically make this Windows environment accessible for you and your particular needs. The magnification also includes things like advanced tracking so that it's following you around the screen. You don't get lost or disorientated, or options to highlight the mouse and the cursor position as well, again, to ensure you don't get sort of lost. And the magnification also works across multiple monitors as well, which is really important for sort of workplace settings where productivity is essential. So we can have different applications magnified on different monitors, on different screens, with independent settings actually as well, which is really, really useful. So lots and lots of options. I'm not going to go through everything that's in the products, but there's lots of options there for people with low vision to be able to customize the Windows environment to make it accessible for them. We've also got magnification, magnifier in speech. And as I mentioned before, just exploring that in a little bit more detail. And this is for people perhaps with fluctuating sight or people with low vision who just need that bit extra support for reading back documents from a text to speech voice, or I should say text to speech voice. They're very natural sounding voices now, which are available from sort of Nuance, which are available in Supernova. So natural sounding voices. Just in the latest version of Supernova, we've added the facility to install additional voices from the control panel. And this is particularly useful. Perhaps the voices you need weren't included when you first installed Supernova, or if you're maybe speaking different languages or dual language, you can choose to at any point in time go back and install an additional English voice or French Canadian voice, or perhaps German or Spanish or Korean or Mandarin. So if English isn't your native language, or if you do speak different languages, you've got that flexibility there. You can also do lots of things like speaking the text under the mouse, because we know a lot of people with low vision particularly benefit from exploring, using either a touchscreen or the mouse. So you can have the text under the mouse spoken. Support for typing echo, so character echo as you're typing, and then our read from here functions, which allows you to do a continuous read through a document, through a web page, play and pause or navigate as you're reading through a document as well. So lots more facilities there to really make the Windows environment accessible. But with the magnifier and speech edition, it's not just about adding a voice. You also get the scan and read facilities, and this helps to make more content accessible. So this where we've got print-based resources, and whether that's from a scanner or a connected camera, you can, or perhaps a file with an inaccessible PDF, you can scan and read it and have it read back to you in a natural sounding voice as well. And then building on that, so, we've already covered quite a lot, to apologize, but we go on to the magnifier and screen reader edition. And this, again, is for people with more progressive sight loss. And as I mentioned before, is more for people who are, perhaps becoming a little bit more reliant on that screen reader to explore the screen rather than using remaining sight. So this is where we've got advanced verbosity levels, so you can control how much information the screen reader announces. It has what we call speak keys to give people who are blind important information, whether that's the character or the formatting or the date and time, just a single key press, or remind me if I'm in an Excel spreadsheet, what's the current row or what's the current column. So you've got these speak keys, to help, make the current object more accessible. You've got the Dolphin cursor, which allows you to navigate the entire screen using a keyboard. So that's, navigating web pages or applications using the keyboard rather than being reliant on the mouse. You've also got the ability for quick navigation to go to, quickly skip to links or headings or buttons on web pages, to kind of speed up that navigation. And the magnifier and screen reader edition also has support for refreshable braille displays as well. So if you are a braille reader or have a braille display, you can navigate the screen using your braille display. You can have the screen read back to you, or displayed on your braille display, relayed, I should say, on your braille display as well. So lots and lots which are kind of built in there with the magnifier and screen reader edition as well. But with Supernova, one of the unique aspects with Supernova is, yes, we've covered a lot in the different editions. And I should say there that the screen reader element also includes all of those screen reader options, but without the kind of magnification elements as well. But you've got all of these different options to make the Windows environment accessible and help people with vision impairments or at different levels of vision impairments to be more productive and explore their screen in a way they find accessible. But this is where Supernova can go above and beyond to make more content accessible as well. So first of all, Supernova works with a range of different cameras and scanners to make print resources accessible. So you can plug in any scanner and use the scan and read feature, or if you've got a camera, you can use sort of webcams or more affordable document cams, all the way through to kind of more higher end, high definition video magnifiers like the MagnaLink, for example, or other high quality video magnifiers. And this is great for making print based content accessible. You can explore the screen, explore what the print resource using magnification. You can bring it, you can do a scan and read on it. If it's something like a worksheet, you can also add annotations. So this is a great way of maybe putting circles around the right answer or writing in your text comments to answer questions as well, and then have that saved as a PDF. So again, we're making more content accessible. We're making all these print-based resources accessible, and that also includes the image descriptions, which I mentioned earlier. So if you've got a printout with a diagram of a volcano or of a human body or a graph, you can have a really rich image description, which is then read back to you by the speech as well for print-based resources. So we make the print resource. The Supernova can help make print resource accessible if you're in education and need to be able to engage in the classroom environment where the teacher is sharing a whiteboard screen, or perhaps in the workplace and there's a presentation in the boardroom. We have a whiteboard assistant which makes it easy for the presenter to share their screen with somebody using Supernova so that they can explore the PowerPoint slides in a way they find accessible. And it basically uses the Wi-Fi, so there's no wires, there's no cameras obstructing the view, but it means that, again, more content is being made accessible. So a young person in education can be sat anywhere in the classroom and view the teacher's whiteboard on their screen in a way they find accessible. But also Supernova, so it includes, connections to cameras, connections to whiteboards, but it also has, and this is another, just to reflect back on where we started with today's podcast, another one of the great innovations over the last few decades has been accessible reading material. And Supernova also includes Dolphin Easy Reader app. And this is just a wonderful app. It's available on lots of different devices. It's included with Supernova, so it's available on Windows devices, but also on things like iPads and iPhones and Android smartphones and tablets. It's also available on Chromebooks where they're allowed to run Android apps, and it provides connections to more than 50 different libraries around the world, making millions and millions of titles accessible. So in Canada, it works with the CELA library, which has actually grown quite considerably in terms of the amount of content. So there's over 1 million titles available in the CELA library, which you can then read in a way you find accessible using Easy Reader. So it's included with Supernova. But one of the great things as well is if you have an active software maintenance agreement for Supernova, you also get access to the premium features of Easy Reader as well. And that means you can join up your reading between different devices. So perhaps you don't want to be reading on your Windows laptop. You want to continue reading on your iPhone or your iPad. You can pick up where you left off, with the premium features. You can add additional reading voices, high quality reading voices. You can import things like PDFs as well, text-based PDFs, to read them in a way you find accessible. So lots and lots of sorts of premium features unlocked by having that software maintenance agreement as well. So I think the point with just coming back and doing a bit of a circle round. So yes, the question was very much about how can we make the Windows environment accessible and support people with, a range of different needs. And that is why Supernova includes, 3 different editions. So you can choose choose the edition that's right for your level of site today. And, perhaps if your site changes over time, you have the option then to move between different editions as well. But Supernova also includes these, fantastic utilities to make more content accessible, whether that's the print, or whiteboards or accessible books or images as well, which are available across, all editions of a product as well.
Hey everyone, Steve here, breaking from the banter for a quick word about Canadian assistive technology. When you're considering assistive tech, we know it's a major decision and every penny counts. That's why we're committed to making your experience as supportive as possible. Our team has over 35 years of experience in the assistive technology sector, bringing expertise, empathy, and service to our customers. We don't just sell products. Our number one concern is ensuring your needs are met. We offer free consulting and will make the best recommendation we can, even if the best solution isn't a product we sell. You'll get peace of mind with our price matching policy, guaranteed if you find a lower advertised price. To get you started, we include 1 hour of free remote training with every single product. And for those big purchases, we now offer flexible payment plans through Partially, allowing you to break payments into 2 to 12 monthly installments. We provide toll-free phone support for all products and work with our service partner, Chaos Technical Services, for quick repairs. Plus, our unique loan program lets you try out demo equipment to ensure the device is the right fit before you commit. At Canadian Assistive Technology, we're dedicated to making sure we find the right assistive technology solution for you. Visit us online at www.canastech.com or call us toll-free at 1-844-795-8324. And now, back to the show.
Stephen, Ryan, and I, we've been involved in the assistive technology field for many, many years. And, as you're going down the list, I'm just like, yeah, that used to be like its own dedicated, piece of AT that you needed to be able to do that. And now you're talking about being able to roll all of this stuff in. It's a really exciting time.
I've already mentioned some of the new innovations that we've made for example, for Supernova with AI, for AI help and image descriptions. But, what other barriers can we resolve as well? We know that, being able to, everything's got a challenge associated to it. So I mentioned in the latest version of Supernova, you can install additional voices. We know what the challenge is there, but, someone doesn't have, if someone's speaking different, text in different languages, they want to be able to read in, using a natural sounding voice for their particular language. So, how can we solve that barrier? Or another barrier which is recently resolved in the latest version of Supernova. So we know that for people with vision impairments, it can be quite easy to miss important notifications. So you may miss notifications from, say, an Outlook email has popped up, or a Teams notification has popped up, or the battery's low, which actually my battery is getting low, and so I better rush off and get the charger quickly. But we've got a new notification finder, which means that any notifications that you've missed, you can quickly catch up on. And those sorts of things. Everything has, it's not about just adding in functionality because you can. It has to solve a problem, and it has to have meaning and solve a problem for an individual who's experiencing vision impairments.
Simon, one of the things that's happened here in Canada over the last probably the last 10 years is our federal government has switched from JAWS and Zoom text over to Supernova. Can you talk a little bit about why a large government agency like that might choose your product over the competition? What sort of benefits that might be there for them?
Absolutely. So it's great to hear about the switch. So there's lots of sorts of benefits. So really, with the licensing of Supernova, it's incredibly flexible because it's based on the customer who's purchasing. So, if you are an individual with sight loss, you can choose, you get a personal license, and you can choose any edition of Supernova to meet your needs today or then change in the future. But then if you're in the workplace, we have professional and enterprise licenses available, which are much more flexible. It makes it really easy to roll the assistive technology out across a network. It includes access to all editions as well. So if different team members need different editions, they can either have different editions provided for them, or they can we've actually got a profiles feature within Supernova. So you can quickly set Supernova up as a magnifier or as magnifier in speech. It's flexible in those ways as well. But equally with our enterprise edition, license, I should say, getting my licenses and editions mixed up. With the enterprise license, organizations also have a lot more flexibility in how they deploy and in terms of their environment as well. So if you're on an environment which is Citrix, using Citrix or remote desktop environment, that's where the enterprise edition works. So that's where the software is actually not installed locally, is installed on a central server. So it works for, different configurations, different network configurations, etc. As well. So yeah, that's very flexible, and again, it's easy for the IT team to manage and to deploy, and again, it's this is where that benefit of having one product to suit people with different levels of site really comes into comes into benefit, because then organizations can be guaranteed that if you choose Supernova, whether you've got team members who have low vision or team members who are more severely sight impaired, they got the accessibility that they need.
So from a design point of view, when you have such a feature-rich product, and when you have these products that are really trying to make it as usable as possible for the most people as possible in the most situations as possible, from a design perspective, that must be very challenging, because on some levels, you're designing for power users, but then you're also designing for sort of novices or people who may be even new to a lot of technology. How does that impact the design process? And has AI taken a bit of the pressure off of that, when it comes to, the built-in AI help?
I don't think that you should rely on AI for those purposes. It can definitely help to unearth and help to, educate in terms of how do I do this, or how do I sort of do that. But I think it's important to make sure that those first experiences with a product, are nice and straightforward. You get your quick wins. You can turn your magnification on and off. You can explore the screen in a way that is intuitive to you. Some of the things that we get really good, feedback on, actually, as I mentioned before, is the touch screen, because it's such an intuitive way of exploring the screen. And why can't people with low vision just use one finger to explore the screen and two fingers to pinch and zoom, etc., or to have the text read back to them that's under their finger? Why can't they just pick up the device and just use it in a way that, as you say, is just intuitive to them? But then, as we know, there are, power users, but people, who do want to get more out of their assistive technology. And that's where you can delve into, we don't expect everybody, who's using Supernova to really go into the depths, etc. But we do have lots of, functionality. It's a very powerful tool, as we've mentioned, going through the different editions, and we've got lots of shortcuts and the new layered hotkeys, etc., where you can really go into the depths of Supernova. But I think it's really important that we design the product in a kind of universal way. We follow universal design principles. We make sure that we do the usability testing, to make sure that, the products are easy to use. If we're adding, we did, improvements, for, accessing the camera features, and making sure that we're getting that feedback in, and then doing the run throughs with our, in the UK, we have qualified teachers supporting young people who are vision impaired. So we're getting all of our feedback in about what are the students struggling with, how can we improve on that, and making sure that any changes that we do make are actually, in the right direction, etc. So, yeah.
So what's sort of next for Supernova? Like, what's sort of in the works?
Well, we've just had the Supernova 25, which was released a couple of months ago. What month are we? We're April now, gosh.
April, yeah.
So that was, that was released in February, so fairly recently. And I've kind of touched on some of the new innovations which are in there, like, for example, adding the voices in via the control panel. We've got the notification finder if any missed notifications. We've also introduced lots and lots of additional braille tables using the LibLouis braille tables. So that's 160 new braille tables available as well. And we've made improvements for using websites which perhaps have their own navigation keys. So one of the aspects I'm not sure if I mentioned when we covered the screen reading aspect, is that with Supernova you have these quick navigation keys to be able to jump to different links or headings or buttons or those sorts of things when you're on web pages. But sometimes there's websites that actually have their own navigation functions, or that, to make their website easier to use. So for example, if you're on YouTube and you press the K button, that's used to play and pause a video. Whereas in Supernova, when you have Supernova running, if you press K, that will jump you to the next link. So you've now got the facility to turn Supernova's quick navigation keys on and off again to help, then you can turn it off to use YouTube to access those navigation keys, and you can turn it back on again for when when you want to navigate to a different website, etc. So those are some of the improvements that we've just released. Yes, there's lots of different ideas that are in the roadmap, but that's where we really need to get the insights in before we start to plan, because we want to make sure that as we go forward, if we're adding additional facilities using AI, that we're solving real world problems. That if we're looking at other features, that they're based on customer need and not just doing improvements, just because we can. So it's a little bit of a, sort of fluffy answer in terms of what's coming up next. But there's so many different options. It would be irresponsible of me to go through all of the different options, that we're actually, but the team is kind of working on and discussing at the moment. But yeah.
In some ways, we are in this golden age. Like things are, new products and new technology seems to be popping up every year. I imagine that your work with the actual community can be really important. Getting their input and getting their thoughts about what their needs are.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It is very important, like we said before, getting, all of the, what we're working on next needs to be informed by, by what people are telling us. But it's also important to add that, there's a constant development cycle, because we know that the technology landscape is always evolving. We know that there's rolling updates to Windows, that there's rolling updates to Office 365, to web browsers, so there's all these important accessibility improvements that or fixes that are kind of needed, because at any point in time we know that Microsoft could release an upgrade to Office and it have an impact on on the accessibility. And so we need to be able to be proactive, in terms of getting access to the early versions, testing them. Quality assurance is really, really important to Dolphin, and making sure that, that all of those improvements come through into the products and don't affect people in the, as part of their everyday lives, if that makes sense.
Well, so for people who are interested in checking out Dolphin, checking out Supernova, checking out all the different editions, or if they want to reach out and contact you, ask you any questions, what's the best way that people can find you?
Absolutely. So, first of all, speak to our friends at Canadian Assistive Technology, and our website, where you can find out about lots of different products. So I've very much focused today on Supernova, but we also have Easy Reader, which we touched on in terms of access for, accessible titles from Facila Library, from Bookshare, and different libraries around the world as well. We also have Guide Connect, which, as we said before, for some people, designing technology to make it, suitable for lots of people with, very different needs can be challenging. And for lots of people with sight loss, actually, the Windows environment itself can be challenging. So we've developed Guide Connect, which makes your computer much easier to use by, completing everyday activities in a menu-based structure. So you can, select emails to send your emails or to view your inbox, and then just use your up and down arrow keys to explore the different options, enter for the one you want, or escape to go back to the previous screen. So you can write your emails, you can search web pages, you can access all of the great things we spoke about, from scanners and cameras for your image descriptions and zooming in and out. You've got access to books as well built into Guide Connect. So lots more, via Guide Connect as well. So definitely, again, want to sort of check out. But yeah, for more information, the Dolphin website is yourdolphin.com. And that's where you can choose your product and find out more.
Yeah, just a couple of products that haven't been mentioned so far, and I'm wondering if you can just do a brief pitch on both of them. Easy Converter and Publisher.
So yes, Easy Converter Express is all about making Word files accessible. So it's a plugin for Microsoft Office, for Microsoft Word, sorry. And then you can take your Word file and, perhaps if you need to create a large print version real quickly or an MP3 audio version really quickly. So this is particularly useful where perhaps, we're working in an environment where maybe a student needs access to a physical large print or a braille version, or maybe in a surgery where we need to be sending out letters in accessible formats, and those sorts of things as well. That's Easy Converter Express. Again, lots more information available on the Dolphin website. And Publisher is a tool which we've provided for organizations who are making accessible published material. So some of our libraries that we're working with use Dolphin Publisher, and it allows you to create accessible DAISY and EPUB books using either a natural sounding voice or pre-recorded audio. So you can actually create human narrated talking books with Dolphin Publisher as well. So, and again, more information on Dolphin Publisher is available on the website. Just to revert back to where we were with Supernova and Easy Reader, again, and Guide Connect. If you're an assistive technology trainer or an assessor, we have lots of fantastic learning resources available on the Dolphin website. We have learning zone courses for assessors, for trainers, for educators. These are actually authored by our blindness product manager, Neil McBride, who's vision impaired himself. He's extremely thorough, and gives great bite-sized lessons in terms of learning the different editions of Supernova, learning how some of his fantastic utilities work, such as making whiteboards accessible or print-based resources accessible, or even using Easy Reader as well. And you've got a quiz at the end of it where you can request a certificate as well. So lots and lots of fantastic learning resources to help find out more about Dolphin products.
Wow. Is there anything you guys don't do? You guys are like the Swiss Army knife of assistive technology. All right. Well, that's yourdolphin.com. People, check it out. Simon, we want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to come chat and to come visit.
Oh, no. Well, thank you very much for accommodating me. You've been very kind. So thank you, everyone. Okay. Well, have a good day, everyone.
All right.
All right, Simon.
Speak to you later. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, there you go. Wow. Wow. Actually, I didn't even realize quite the scope of their product offerings. That's wild.
Yeah, that's a lot to stuff into an hour, right? That's, there's a lot going on over there, and it's funny because we are so versed in JAWS over here because it was the North American product that spread the fastest.
Right.
But Dolphin does have some specific advantages over JAWS. The federal government was pretty clear on that because they use a lot of I believe it's Cisco products, and the Dolphin stuff just works better with the stuff that they're using.
Yeah.
So there's definite areas where they've been able to show definite advantages over the competition.
All right. Well, anything else before we begin our respective days?
Let's do a tech teardown show.
A tech teardown.
All we
show.
do is bitch about tech. We tear it down, slam it to the ground.
It's called Tuesdays at 4:30.
Yeah, I like the idea, but I'm wondering how we can do it without
Pissing off our
repercussions.
vendors,
Yeah.
our distributors.
No, we just don't talk about AT. We'll talk about AI built into fridges and stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Talk about Steve's sous vide app not working anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, what the hell? Apps coming and going.
Yep.
I'm telling you, and my Google Home has gotten stupider. I don't know. They plug Gemini into it now, and now it I don't know. It seems dumber than it used to.
Oh,
Alexa.
I found the same thing. I found the
Yeah.
same thing.
Amazon did that with Alexas as well. You can enable Alexa Plus, and a lot of people turned it back off because you can go back. So
It's not good.
Yeah,
It's not good.
I turned Gemini off on my phone because the results that I was getting were not what I wanted.
is that right?
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It's weird. It's it's like they say, it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. We're doing great in some ways, in other ways, it's a train wreck.
All right. So where can people find us?
People can find us at www.atbanter.com.
They can also send us an email at.
Cowbell. Wow, that was weird.
They can also send us an email to.
Cowbell at atbanter.com. This is why we have multiple takes.
That's right.
And where else can they find us, Steve, if they so desire and they want it, their minds corrupted by social media?
Well, I'm told that they can find us on social media. There's all kinds of different places. There's, let me see, there's Mastodon.
Yeah.
There's Facebook.
Oh, did you
there's-
see Steve's Facebook post on April 1st?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Well done, Mr. Barclay. Well done.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. That was supposed to be a video, but Greg and I never quite got around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody check it out.
Okay, well, I will. Steve Barkley. But yeah.
Well, it was
but
actually, it was on the Canadian Assistive
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, well,
Facebook page.
Got it.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you a little
Yeah, give me a
read
taste.
through here? Hang on, let me
Yeah.
let me just pull it up here. So there's a picture associated with it. It's a picture of Greg. He's holding onto a tool that's resting against an arm, and he's got this maniacal look on his face, visor pulled down over his eyes, and his tongue is sticking out to one side. And the caption is, "We're incredibly proud to introduce Skin Braille, a new tactile tattoo system. Skin Braille uses subdermal silicone beads to produce permanent braille dots on nearly any part of the body. They are compatible with conventional tattoos for a true 3D piece of art on your body. Sessions typically take a half hour to several hours depending on the amount of braille being implanted. Customer reviews. Skin Braille is amazing. I went to watch a friend having it done and the results were incredible, although the police were called because of the screaming. I've never been in such pain. I was going to get the Lord's Prayer on my back, but I had to stop immediately, so now I just have the word my on my back for no good reason. Visitors to our Vancouver office can now schedule a Skin Braille session with Greg in a mostly hygienic environment."
Yeah, that's amazing, actually. And the reason why that's such a great April Fool's post is because there's part of you that's like, hey, that's kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. Well, there
Yes,
you
it
go.
is.
Who knows? Who knows? That could become a thing, though.
The next technology trend.
That could be
Skin
become
Braille.
a thing. I could see that. I could see the kids being into that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, there you go. So keep that idea, write that down, and keep it and put it in a drawer or something because you never know.
Well, every now and then I get some university student coming to me for a project, and that's going to be my go-to suggestion for them from now on.
Absolutely, totally.
And then you could use the body's electrical signals to make it haptic.
Ooh,
Haptic Skin Braille.
man. See, now we're cooking. We're cooking. We're giving away these ideas for free. Trademark.
If we could only make the
TM.
dots raise and lower, you could read on your arm. Arm Braille.
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe that's next year's April Fool's.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so yeah, that is going to about do it for us this week. Big thanks, of course, to Simon for joining us, and we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions, as well as physical access solutions and augmentative communication aids across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com, or if you're in the Vancouver Lower Mainland, visit our storefront at number 106 828 West 8th Avenue in Vancouver. That's one block off Broadway at Willow. You can reach us by phone toll-free at 1-844-795-8324 or by email at sales@canastech.com.